Dudes, what's up? Welcome to my channel. This is the DIY Designer. If you're new here, my name is Orly. I do really cool DIY. If this is the first video you're seeing, this one's a little different, so I highly recommend checking out the rest of the channel. I do really fun like shoes and accessories, fashion, a lot of no-sew stuff if you don't know how to sew, sewing stuff if you do. This DIY video is gonna be a little different than my usual ones because it's not really fashion, it's actually more function. So if you are struggling with growing your hair long or feeling like your hair is super damaged, that is what this video is all about. Basically, the right side of my hair was breaking off and actually felt super thin. Like I could feel there was less hair from the root and it was breaking from the end. So every time I was getting a haircut, it was like this and I was cutting like 2 inches off the left just to match the right. By the way, I clipped in extensions today. My hair is normally about this long. I stopped twisting my hair into a bun. I stopped wearing a one-sided purse and got a backpack. I got a silk pillowcase. Did all the things and I'm still having the issue. One thing that I found online is like wrapping your hair in like a silk bonnet at night. Now, this is nothing new. Black women have been doing this forever because they know it works. And you guys, it works. So there are a couple things I can attest to right off the bat. One is that it definitely makes my hair feel less dirty when I wake up, which means less washing, less stripping the color, less stripping the healthy oils, all that stuff. Number one, really good. Number two is it maintains the hairstyle for a lot longer. Less heat on my hair. Really great. Number two. The third thing, which I can't fully attest to yet, but I think it's working, is the length. Because I sleep on my right side, it's actually ripping the hair out from the root, and the friction of the pillowcase and my sheets is what's breaking it at the ends. So by keeping it all kind of like loose and tousled in this bonnet, it's really doing the trick. I'm a huge fan. I'm a little late to the party, obviously, but I'm a really big fan. The ones that I think are cute and are pretty and are flattering are really expensive. They're silk, which means they're expensive, and they're pretty, which means they're expensive. So I'm gonna show you guys how you can make your own turban style silk bonnet out of a thrifted vintage silk scarf. So we're recycling some fabric, we're getting beautiful prints, and I'll show you how to make your own so you can save a ton of money. Okay, let's get right into materials and let's do the damn thing. Our pattern. So this is going to be the fold. You can see here, this is the fold. So this is the back of our head. This is the bottom by our ears going up to our forehead. And then this will be the entire top of our head. This is obviously going to have a seam, elastic, and that's the fold, so no seam in the back. This is 10.5 inches tall. For me, that's good. If you have a lot more hair or really thick curly hair, you might need that to be a little longer. Same with this dimension, 13.5, because we're gonna put elastic in. You can make it fit your head. What I recommend doing is going straight from the top to about 7 inches, all the way across here. At 7 inches, eyeball your bottom to your top and just curve it, connect the curve. So here's our bottom, right? We're gonna gather it all here, okay? So this is naturally gonna come down because of the gather, and this is the front. You can see all of those pleats. So this whole part here is gonna come up, and this is gonna come down, and so it's gonna end up having the natural shape like this. If you wanna do the version that has 2 colors, just cut this in half. You would do a line right here, make this in your one color, this in your other color, and then you sew them together to bring it back to this piece. All right, so let's just start out by cutting out the pattern and laying it on our fabric. Now you wanna decide exactly what you want where. For me, I know that I want that blue to be all along the edge, like where my elastic is gonna go. So you can see I've got the fold of my pattern on the fold of my fabric, and I've got the bottom, which is my elastic all along the blue. I'm gonna pin my pattern to my fabric, and anytime you're using silk like this, you really wanna kinda take extra time pinning because it wants to slip and slide on you. So I cut everything out of my pattern, and you can see that's what it looks like. You're gonna fold it face to face so that we can do our very first seam. That's the one that's gonna go all across the top of our head all the way to the back. Extra pins here, especially on the curve, you guys. As you start sewing, it's gonna push and move and slip and slide unless you've got a ton of pins. So take your time, pin it in place, and now we're doing a simple straight stitch. This is where a French seam would actually be really great. I show that technique in my linen curtains if you wanna learn how to do that. We've got the seam done, and now I'm creating the casing for my elastic. I'm not actually gonna put my elastic in yet, but I am creating the casing so that I know what the bottom of it looks like. Just fold it up evenly. You can kind of eyeball it really, but if you want to measure it, you can. And you're gonna leave a little opening so that you can actually get your elastic in once you finish sewing it. So right now I'm just doing a simple straight stitch all the way across where I sewed it and leaving that center part open again so I can get my elastic in. Trim off your excess, and now it's time to pleat it. We're not putting our elastic in yet. So I'm grabbing the original one that I bought so that I can show you guys. The bottom of it is not pleated. You can see about 1.5 inches is not pleated. The rest of it is. So I'm gonna put a pin in that bottom section so I know not to pleat beyond that point. And now I'm just creating little pleats. I don't know officially if these are called like pin tucks or pleats or gathers. Again, I'm self-taught. I don't know what it's called exactly, but you can see that you're gathering it on the fold. You don't want to open it and be looking at the back. You actually want to keep it on the fold and pin it that way. You want to pin all the way until that one mark you gave yourself on the bottom, right? It was about 2 inches of the bottom that gets no pleating. I went back and measured it just to see what the finished pleated measurement was, and it was 5.5. Now, just a reminder, that original dimension was 10.5 inches. That was our fold. Now you just stitch all of those pin tucks in place, and the pleats are done in the back. So I grabbed my elastic and I kind of wrapped it around my head to see what felt good. I want it to be snug, but not too tight. So at that point where I was gonna cut my elastic, I put a safety pin. I'm feeding the safety pin in all the way through my elastic casing until I get to the other side. Pull the entire thing out, and again, because my safety pin was my marking point, I pin it at that place and I make sure to stitch it closed right there. Go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that now adjusts your elastic. Cut off the excess and kind of stretch it out so that it feels even, and now we're just gonna sew close that little opening that we left for ourselves. Okay, so you can see the pleats look really nice in the back, the elastic is in, and the last thing we have to do is create that gather in the front with that little like flat band. I cut a piece of the blue because I want my band in the front to be that blue. So I fold it face to face and sew it together, put a safety pin on the end in order to flip it inside out. And now I have a nice little, like, almost like a belt, like a flat belt. Obviously it's super bubbly, which we don't want, so you're just gonna iron it. I want to see only blue, so I'm kind of adjusting it with my finger to make sure that I'm pressing it so that only the blue is showing. Now, when you take your bonnet, for me, I found that 8 inches up from the elastic was the right place to place this tie, and you'll see how it gathers everything down. So right now, I'm pinning it face to face so that when I fold it down, I only see blue. I'm sewing it directly, you can see there, directly to the front of the bonnet so that when I fold that piece down, it's gonna be clean finished. Now I'm creating gathers all along the seam line. So just grab the end and fold, making sure to constantly keep it on the seam line so that it's even. Now pin that in place. All of those gathers are gonna get pinned. You can see my pin is there, and you're just gonna sew it. Straight stitch, sewing it so that it lays nice and flat on your head. Now, when you take that little piece, you can see I already cut off my excess. You take that little piece, fold under the end so that it stays clean finished, and now we're just sewing it together. With a needle and thread is the easiest way. Now, just a reminder, I placed that piece 8 inches from the bottom so that when you pull it down, it's gathering all those 8 inches and wrapping it underneath the elastic so it creates that nice shape that we talked about in the beginning. Simple hand stitching to the inside so that it stays hidden. You can see I've got my beautiful pleats all going across the back, and when I flip it around the front, you're gonna see that nice gather. That's sort of the turban style. When you pull it tight, the elastic holds it in place, and this is what it looks like on. Obviously, when you wear it, all your hair is gonna be tucked up under there. So what I recommend doing is to splitting your hair into two. Then I like to sort of twist it in like this one going this direction, this one going this direction, and then I tuck it and pull the thing over so everything is hidden on the inside. So you wanna make sure that it's not so tight that you don't have room to let all your hair in there. Next thing that I do as well is I put the elastic above my ears and then put the little excess of fabric over it, because you don't want the elastic over your ears so you feel like you're like underwater. So you just sort of tuck the elastic behind your ears and you've got enough fabric that it will hang over in a really nice kind of flattering way. So I hope that you guys liked this one. It is really simple, and the best part is that we have all of this extra fabric that we can make at least 2 more, maybe 3. And this was only $5. So I mean, that's a It's a heck of a savings if you ask me. I hope that you guys liked this one. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. If you aren't already, hit the like button. And if you have a friend who has been suffering with breaking hair like me, please send it to them. Maybe they'll enjoy this one. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Bye.